Good morning to the Merrimack Valley. The fireworks have been set off atop the roof here at WCAP as we are welcomed, and we welcome you to the best hour in radio, the JMac and the Bear Show. The JMac and the Bear Show is brought to you by Sal's Pizza, Salvatore's Restaurants, and Riverwalk Properties. I'm John McDonald, along with the Bear, my co-host, George Zaharoulis. I encourage you to call in at 978-454-4980 at WCAP 980 AM, where everybody gets it.
Today also we welcome our frequent companion and all that represents Zen in our universe, Stacy the Radio Goddess. Welcome, friends. Today is our inaugural show, a show where week to week we will discuss everything from local and national politics to who's on first with the Red Sox. But first, there's a couple of people that I'd like to say hello to. And they had birthdays on February 3rd. It's Spiros Kansakis of Dutton and Joseph Downs. Dr. Joseph Downs, he'll crack you up.
Well, happy birthday there, Doctor. Also, it's well known in our show that, George, that you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican, which I'm sure will develop some controversy between us at some point during our many shows. As we get started this morning, we'll start with our first segment. This week on Who or What is Poking the Bear.
Just recently I saw an article that says grants put cities' trolleys expansion on fast track. The question that comes into mind is why trolleys? So I had to ask my wife what she thought of the idea. She loved it. Well, anytime she is that positive about something, there has to be a downside. So I asked why. Her answer was, they look nice. Oh, if this was my money, and I am a tightwad, I looked at the estimated construction cost of approximately $66 million and approximate annual operating and maintenance costs of $3 million, another additional $1.5 million to design new tracks, and $1.5 million to fund upgrades to existing trolleys. The trolley system would go from 1.5 miles to 6.9 mile tracks. Who's going to pay for it? Well, that's easy. Us, the taxpayer. I'm for the grant money coming into the city. But does this project make sense to you as a taxpayer? Why not buy additional buses that look like trolleys, fix the roadways, and then the tours and transportation system can be linked to the boat tours, canals, and rivers, and many of the historical and high points of the city. And if the travel routes have to be altered, the bus trolley can handle the change without the heavy expense of adding additional tracks. What do you think? We used to have trolleys in Lowell. Why did we eliminate them? When you, as a taxpayer, when would you use it? And what new traffic problems will we have? It's your money, and you have a say with us. Call 978-454-4980.
Well, I got to tell you, George, that was a heck of a commentary there. And, you know, I got to tell you, as far as trolleys in Lowell, this is something I'd like to be in favor of. But, right now I got a lot of questions on my mind.
Well, if you notice that in the old days when they had the trolley tracks on the street and it became wet, they were very slippery if cars were going to go around the corner. But before we really get into that and some other issues, I want to wish my wife a happy anniversary, and hopefully I'll catch up to her later on today.
Well, happy anniversary there, Mrs. Z. That's fantastic. The bear, we call her Mrs. Bear?
No, just call her Joanne.
Well, back to the trolleys. I mean, I think some of the questions that, I have in mind is, as we have this terrible recession that seems to linger and go on and on and on, why are we spending money on trolleys when, my first question comes to mind is, how many jobs is this going to create? What's the answer?
I have no idea, but I will tell you that trolleys aren't a bad idea as long as they're on wheels. Certainly they would link up the water tour of the canals and also the river. It would certainly be nice to take a trolley and visit the different museums we had, and certainly we can raise several good points about the city. Throughout the city, it's very historical. And in fact, I served on the first community renewal program for the city of Lowell, which established a historical district, which was also the downtown.
Well, I think, I don't disagree that it could be good for the city of Lowell. I mean, it would be an attraction, but I don't know that I can necessarily agree with that 800,000 people a year are going to necessarily be using these trolleys. And again, I look at it as, how is the taxpayer money being spent? I'm not against trolleys on wheels or anything else, but we're going to lay down tracks. We've got traffic congestion. And again, what kind of jobs are we going to create? How many jobs are we going to create? What are they going to pay? Who's going to pay for the completion of the job? How much is the city going to contribute? Right now we've got a lot of roads in Lowell. When I walked through the many streets of Lowell during my campaign, I noticed an awful lot of streets that could be paved. So I'd rather see some of that money right now in this economic environment be spent on repairing the roads and bridges that need repair, that are getting ignored.
You're absolutely right. The infrastructure within the city has to be looked at as well. We have a water problem. We had some main units that break down. Some of the city is still on the Mickey or the bricks type of piping, and if those go, we're going to have major catastrophe. But anyways, let's wait and see if there's any callers. What I would like to do is go out to Dracut and wish luck and wins to the Dracut U12 softball team that has two great coaches, Howard Daly and Alex Draculakos. They have quite a few youngsters. Their ages, the girls are ages 12. My favorite is Addie McCullough. She is a daughter of a good friend of mine who's a firefighter, and she's excellent. She's a pitcher, but she also plays other positions, and she's very good at it.
Well, that's fantastic. I'd like also put a special call out to some good friends of ours who are sponsoring our program this morning. The Coffee Can Cafe at 360 Merrimack Street in Lawrence, Mass. I say there's a new coffee sheriff in town. If you're interested in the Coffee Can Cafe, located at the lovely Riverwalk Properties in Lawrence, Massachusetts, please call 978-208-1907. But back to the trolleys, I keep going back to the fact that, is this the best way to spend our tax dollars during this economic environment that we're in? Is this an example of a lack of priorities? I want to be in favor of this. I want to like it, but I just look at there's too many questions that are open-ended for me to get too terribly excited about it. I mean, is this an example of what government thinks is a priority? Our federal government, anyway. I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer that, George.
Well, either do I. I still like the idea that Boston has the old-time trolleys that's on wheels. And if we have it on wheels, I think it'll link all parts of Lowell, and people will have a chance really to see what a mill city was and is now. We have a great history, and we should try to promote our history through different museums that we have and the architectural design of some of our buildings.
Well, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, we don't disagree on that at all, but, I did a little homework, and, my question is, if we're going to bring in trolleys, they're going to go on tracks. Who's manufacturing these things these days? I got online. I didn't find any trolley manufacturers in this day and age that create trolleys that go on tracks. There's plenty of motorized ones, and if I looked at I found a motorized trolley website, and the cheapest website was, or the cheapest trolley was $34,000, and the cheapest the most expensive used trolley I could find was $130,000. So how much are these things new? Do we have somebody on the phone?
Yeah, we do, John. We have Dennis and Lowell on the line.
Dennis, welcome to the JMac and the Bear Show on 980 WCAP.
Hello. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy anniversary, George.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
Yeah, this is Dennis Canny.
Yes, I recognize the voice. You've called in many times, and I've enjoyed your comments.
Yeah, I just wanted to wish you well in your venture here with John, and I'm sure you're going to have some great politics
yes.
discussions coming up. And one of the issues I'd like to have you hear you talk about is these super PACs. They're kind of like driving me nuts with all this money that they're pouring into these super PACs. And I'm sure you must have some opinions about them.
Well, thank you for all the kind wishes. I appreciate it. I mean, I do have some opinions on that. I don't like the super PACs. I mean, I'm a Republican, and it seems like there's a lot of attention on super PACs right now in the Republican Party. But let's not forget the Democrats have them too. And I can only see at this point that the super PACs only direct their attention to negative campaigning. And, I'm not a big fan of negative campaigning. I never have been. I realize that, when you get up to the level of a presidential run, that's part of what they do. But I just think the influence of money in these political campaigns through, unlimited resources, I don't think it's good for the country. I don't think it's good for what we're trying to represent or the message we're trying to communicate to the people. We're trying to encourage people. I hope we're trying to encourage people to get actively engaged and vote. I got a young person that's sitting around the TV every night. I've got 2 young kids. What makes them want to get up and vote when it's their turn, when they see nothing but, these guys are negative? No matter who it is on what side of the aisle, somebody has something negative to say about them. I don't know how you feel about it, George.
Well, I kind of like the way the trends are going with the Republican Party. If we let them loose, they're going to need all that money in the super PACs because they're going to kill each other. The Democrats are a little bit slow in coming across on their super PACs, but I'll tell you, if we allow them to keep on going to these primaries, these Republicans, they're gonna choke each other off. They're gonna have to come up with a brand new candidate. So good luck to them. I think we're ahead of the game as Democrats.
Well, you might be ahead of the game as far as Democrats go. There's no question that the fundraising capabilities of the Democratic Party are outstanding. There's no question they get their message across. But again, not a big fan of the super PACs. I realize that they've become a necessity. New laws changed, allow them to do these things. Just not a big fan. Not a big fan.
Well, as far as Dennis, do you have any comments on this before I say something?
Sure. I don't understand why the Supreme Court ruled that way. If they wanted to, why didn't they limit it to like $2,500 per person like a presidential candidate has? And the other thing is on reporting. They only have to report once every 6 months. If you're a presidential candidate, you have to report every 3 months. I would prefer it every month. I want to know who's donating and to find out why.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Dennis. Well, thank you for calling in. I believe we have another caller coming in. And
thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis. And I believe we have Mr. Warren Shaw. Now, Warren is the owner and proprietor of Shaw Farms, which was established in 1908, but he's also the host of Saturday Morning Live here on WCAP. Welcome to the show, Warren. Thank you very much for calling in.
Hey, listen, I'm honored to be on the first broadcast of JMac and the Bear.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So what's going on in Warren's world this morning?
Well, I mean, just in the business of it all, we actually just had a chat with my son about some new business that's been offered us. There's always a challenge in this business, trying to keep it all in balance. So we've been very fortunate that this local food movement has really attracted a lot of interest to what we offer.
Oh, that's great.
So we actually talked about today half a dozen new accounts in the Boston market, and then one a little bit closer to here that represent significant increases. So it's despite the bad economy, we've kind of hung on pretty good.
Well, I think that's great, particularly with I love what I see. I was on last night on your website, and I had my youngest daughter, Karen, not to ignore my oldest, Shannon, so both got a shout-out this morning.
Right,
but
exactly.
I had Karen on my lap last night, and we were looking at your website, and Karen's 8 years old, and we happened to notice, which I didn't know, that you could hold birthday parties at Shaw Farm.
Right,
and,
yeah, we've been...
tell us a little bit about that.
We've been doing that since we opened this new store. So we have a place here that seats about 30 people inside the store, and so in the summer we'll do it outside if the folks want. We can. So it includes a trip to the barn. It includes an ice cream bash. It includes sometimes we have this thing that we call Hazel the Holstein, which is a sort of a fake cow that they get to milk, but it looks just like milking a cow. And so we do all